You're a figment of my imagination, and I will not be controlled by you. Oh, that's rich. You really think you can make me go away just by saying that? Well, it was worth a try. The mind is a mysterious thing, isn't it? Insurgent begins right after Triss, Tobias, Marcus, Peter, and Caleb escape for Amity. The story takes a separate approach as the pace is much quicker. This is also where this lovely science fiction series really starts to get you thinking. Well, the group has successfully made it to Amity along with other abnegation survivors. However, it seems the people are not wanted, since to keep the peace, the leader of the Amity faction, Johanna Reyes, wants to be neutral. The people are allowed to stay if they conform to the rules of their faction. While there, Triss notices Marcus and Johanna discussing something very mysterious. Apparently, there was a piece of information that the abnegation leaders died to protect. I wonder what that could be. Also, it seems some of the Dauntless have teamed with the Erudite. A group of Dauntless traitors and Erudite come to Amity to arrest Divergence. Triss, Tobias, Caleb, and Caleb's friend Susan flee Amity toward the factionless sector. While there, they meet up with Edward, and he introduces them all to Tobias's mother, Evelyn, who left abnegation since Marcus was abusing her, too. Evelyn wants Tobias to get the loyal Dauntless to help the factionless rise up against the Erudite. Triss doesn't really trust Evelyn, and Tobias doesn't trust her either since he feels she abandoned him. It seems that the loyal Dauntless have been hanging out at Kandor headquarters. Triss and Tobias make their way over there since both of them would like to know what happened after Tobias stopped running the simulation. However, when they get there, they are arrested upon arrival. Triss manages to reunite with her friends Uriah and Christina, who is sad that Will had died in the battle. Now, the Kandor leader, Jack Kang, believes that Triss and Tobias were running the simulation the whole time due to the security feeds, so they have to be put under truth serum. Now, Triss and Tobias were simply asked a few questions, like their names, their family, etc. And they do also ask what happened in the control room during the attack, and they do tell the truth. What happened in the control room was exactly what I said in the Divergent review. Now, part of this interrogation requires asking Tobias and Triss their biggest regrets. Tobias reveals that he transferred from abnegation to Dauntless to protect himself from his father. This paints him as a coward to most of the Dauntless there. Tobias was actually going to leave and become factionless, but he stayed because he fell in love with Triss. Under the truth serum, Triss reveals that she was the one who killed Will. Christina stopped speaking to her after that, since she and Will were dating before the battle. It seems our heroes can't catch a break since an invasion of Dauntless traitors led by Eric has entered the Kandor headquarters. They shoot everyone they can with simulation serums, and everyone is knocked out except for those who are Divergent. Triss and Uriah, who is Divergent, try to help people flee, but it's no use. Eric intends to kill every Divergent except 2, which Jeanine requested for studying. Eric begins his killing spree when Triss leaps into action and wounds him. The loyal Dauntless make it to where they are and capture Eric. Not everyone was shot by the serum, and that's thanks to Will's sister, Kara, who defected from Erudite. But it also seems that their safety is not to last, since Jack Kang fully intends on negotiating with Jeanine and appealing to her demands. Tobias, Triss, and 2 of Triss's Dauntless friends, Lynn and her sister Shauna, decide to spy on the negotiations to see what's really going on. Max, a Dauntless traitor, is sent to represent Jeanine, but he seems to be talking a little too robotic for someone from Dauntless. Triss believes that Jeanine has to be nearby and plans to track her down, but Lynn shoots and kills Max. Triss and Tobias try to track down Jeanine, but she escapes with Peter, who has decided to be part of the Dauntless traitors. Shauna has been shot with a nerve serum and is paralyzed. The loyal Dauntless have had enough of this shenanigans and decide to elect new leaders, that being Tori, Tobias, who regained his reputation, and Harrison. They all agree to execute Eric since he's Dauntless, therefore under their jurisdiction. Plus, Kang hasn't been able to get any information out of Eric since Jeanine didn't reveal the whole plan to him, so he's useless. Kang had intended to send Eric back to Jeanine, but the Dauntless got to him first. Eric is executed, and the Dauntless flee back to their compound and do their best to disable any security cameras they can. The reason they were hiding in Kandor in the first place is because of all of those security cameras. But it seems they didn't disable enough security cameras, since Christina wakes up Triss in the middle of the night saying that Marlene, Uriah's girlfriend, and another of Triss's Dauntless-born friends, Hector, Lynn and Shauna's brother, and a young girl named Key are under simulation and are being forced to jump to their deaths into the pit. Since only Christina and Triss are there, they only manage to save Hector and Key. Marlene has fallen to her death. Well, Uriah and many others aren't taking this well. Triss has had enough of this and decides to surrender to Erudite. She just walks right in through the front door. Of course, Peter is the one to guard and make sure Triss doesn't escape. Jeanine runs all kinds of tests on Triss. Well, it seems Tobias has come by too, but not just to rescue Triss. He planned this. He managed to convince the factionless and the loyal Dauntless to work together and attack the Erudite compound in a few days. At this point, Triss learns that the person who has been supplying Jeanine with her information was Caleb, her brother. Well, Jeanine tries one last test on Triss to see if she can create a serum that overpowers Divergence, but it isn't enough. Jeanine cannot understand why her experiments are failing and demands to know why. Triss refuses to say and attacks Jeanine, but Triss is taken back to her cell, and it seems Triss's execution has been moved to the next day. Execution day arrives and Triss is not killed. But how? It seems Peter had another brief change of heart and changed the killing serum to a paralysis serum. This would only paralyze her briefly. Peter frees Tobias and they take Triss out of the building and escape to the abnegation headquarters. Oh, but why did Peter save Triss's life? He felt he owed her for saving his life at Amity. During the invasion of Dauntless traitors coming to arrest them, Triss saved Peter's life. Anyways, earlier in the story, Triss has been trying to get information about that super secret information that Marcus knows, but he refused to tell her. But this time, things are getting desperate. Marcus knows that if the factionless find out about this information, the data would be destroyed. The data happens to be in the Erudite computers. Triss hates working with Marcus, but comes up with a plan with him. Christina knows about the information as well, since Triss entrusted her with this knowledge before she surrendered to the Erudite. They sneak away to Amity and tell Joanna what's going on. Joanna wants to help, but she has to step down as leader to do it. She recruits a few others to try to resolve this whole issue peacefully. Meanwhile, Marcus, Triss, Christina, Kara, and another Erudite defector named Fernando make their way to the Erudite headquarters to infiltrate and find the data. Kara and Fernando are brought along to guide them. Fernando is killed on the way in, though. Everyone gets separated. Kara tries to work the computers to see if she can find the data. Christina is shot in the leg, but stays behind to make sure no one follows Marcus and Triss. Marcus gets separated from Triss as they try to find their way to Jeanine's laboratory where the data is. Triss is stopped by a simulation and has to face herself before the poison kicks in. Now, what I mean here is, it's like a Dark Link battle. She's facing a simulated doppelganger of herself. Triss manages to conquer herself, but when she gets into the laboratory, Tori is already there, with full intent on killing Jeanine to avenge her brother, who was Divergent and killed. Triss tries to stop Tori since they need the information, but Tori kills Jeanine anyway. Tori doesn't believe Triss when she tells her what's going on, and Triss is branded a traitor along with everyone else who worked with her. Triss manages to pass the message along to Tobias. And while Triss and the others are all in the main area of the headquarters, Tobias gets Caleb's cooperation to share that data on all computers. What was in that data? Well, a video. This video revealed that the world had become corrupt, so the city was sealed to allow divergence to increase. Once there were enough divergence, Amity was to open the fences forever and allow the population to re-enter the world. The narrator for this video was a member from an organization fighting for peace named Amanda Ritter, but since she was going to be part of the memory wipe and be sealed in the city, she went by the name Edith Pryor. Now, the abnegation leaders were actually going to reveal this to the city, but then the Dauntless under the simulation attacked. Well, the book ends with everyone in the room shouting and freaking out. Now, the details regarding what's going on here is going to be explained in the Allegiant review. Alright, let's analyze. A lot of the book is focused on the relationship between Tobias and Triss. Both of them are learning new stuff about each other as the book continues, which makes both of them distrust each other. They do fight quite a bit, but they still love each other and learn to communicate a little better as the story goes on. There's a little bit of focus on Christina trying to forgive Triss, but it's hard for her since Triss literally killed her boyfriend. Kara had to explain to Christina that there was no other way to go around it. It isn't until Christina sees what the simulation can make a person do where she realizes that there was no other way. Christina realized that she didn't want to throw her friendship with Triss away. Triss had a hard time accepting her forgiveness over this, but realizes that Christina needed to learn for herself. It's important to have all the information. Now, speaking of all the information, I'm sure some of you are wondering why Caleb was so quick to betray Triss. Well, part of it is he chose his faction over his family, and it cost him dearly. The other part is because Jeanine actually told him about the data and what it contained. Caleb didn't want that revealed. Jeanine played it smart here to give Caleb all the information so he knew where to put his loyalties. While yes, he did betray his sister, he did it of his own free will. I want to discuss Jeanine some more here. She is described as inhuman here as well, but then it's discovered through her frustrations and the many tests with Triss that she does have her limits. She always has this facade of everything going her way, but when she finally reaches her breaking point, she nearly shoots Triss, but doesn't because it would be illogical and she wouldn't get any answers. Eventually, she just gives up and decides to run tests on Tobias instead. Now, there's a few things I want to discuss regarding the factions again. Here we get more of a look into what the Amity, Candor, and Erudite are like. Amity will do literally anything to keep the peace, including letting innocents die to maintain neutrality. Even when Joanna wants to go out and help, most of the Amity stay behind since they want to stay out of it. Also, the bread is drugged with the serum that forces people to remain passive. That way there's no conflict or arguments or stuff like that. I'm sure the area is peaceful, but you don't really grow if there's no conflict. Like I mentioned in the Divergent review, the people of Candor have no filter and are very good at reading body language. But as Jeanine has said, Candor doesn't really provide many resources, so they're not considered important. Jeanine wouldn't have an issue wiping them out. And sure, while the Candor are honest, they force you to share the deepest, darkest parts of your life that you're probably not ready to share. Take Tobias, for example. It took time for him to share with Triss what he had gone through. When he's forced to share it in front of his peers who looked up to him, he lost his reputation. He gained his reputation back by showing them that he's not afraid of his father anymore and beats him publicly. The phrase the Candor chant immediately after Tobias and Triss share all of their trauma is, "Thank you for your honesty." That's it. They seem very insensitive and unfeeling, don't you think? Erudite are always thirsting for knowledge. There's a little rhyme that says Erudite is the coldest faction and that knowledge is a costly thing. We all know the phrase ignorance is bliss. Sure, it's important to have knowledge, but the more you learn, the more you realize what kind of world you live in and what kind of people you associate with. And if you allow yourself, you also learn what kind of a person you are. Jeanine and Caleb realized what kind of world they live in, and they didn't want any part of what this organization wanted for the city. Jeanine also wanted to know what made the Divergence so special, which is why she ran tests on Triss. She craved knowledge that she could not obtain herself, and her actions cost her her life. She also wanted to be able to control everyone, and she wouldn't be able to do that if everyone left the city. Overall, this is another fun read. It's really intense though, so brace yourself before reading. It was fast-paced and action-packed. So much happens and happens fast, but there are little moments where you have room to breathe. Those moments are few, but they are greatly appreciated. I would recommend this book for ages 15 and up. There is still quite a bit of violence since there's a war going on, and there are also some mature themes. There was a film adaptation of Insurgent released in 2015. I didn't see the film since I didn't hear good things about it. That and I was reaching a point in my life where I realized that most book-to-film adaptations weren't very good. Plus, now that I've read Insurgent again after so long, I don't think I want to see that on the big screen. That's just me though. If you want to see it, go ahead. Who am I to stop you? This adventure is quick-paced and fun, and I'm glad I got to read it again. Although, I will admit, this one in particular really got me thinking. And I'm sure we're going to be doing a lot more thinking when we finish off the trilogy with Allegiant. Happy reading! I had a feeling you'd be back. You know you're only tiring yourself out by doing that.